Guys, so today we're talking about Solo, a Star Wars story. So, yep, we're talking about this pile of garbage. Yeah, but back to this garbage. Solo, a Star Wars story. So, what are any good parts about the movie? There were a few, okay? This movie at least had some entertaining parts to it. Unlike The Last Jedi, where it was just boring, boring and just boring scene after boring scene after boring scene. But why was this movie made? Okay, you know, besides Lando, Chewbacca, and Han Solo, none of the characters appear in Star Wars. Okay, you know, like for example, Han Solo's lover in this movie, you know, like she doesn't appear in the original trilogy at all. Okay, it's like they're trying to add in these characters that like no one knows and no one's gonna remember, no one's gonna care about, and of course they got added to the worst Star Wars characters in all of history, L337. That thing wouldn't shut up, but of course, you know they made it. They also retconned a lot of things in this movie too with the Star Wars universe. I don't know what's with it's not just Disney and Star Wars. It's just movie companies doing it in general. Even George Lucas did retcons in the original trilogy for no reason. Adding CGI scenes for no reason. Cutting out scenes, changing scenes. We're not gonna act like George Lucas is all innocent, but these changes are far worse. Like how Han Solo got his last name because he didn't have a last name to begin with. Like ha ha, like really? Really? That's the reason why it's called Han Solo? Not because, I thought he was called I thought his last name was just Solo because he was born with that name. Isn't that how last names work? He must have had some parents or something. And it is like, oh, let's give him his last. Let's just call him Solo because he's by himself. Okay? Or when he met Chewbacca, he just so happened to it's like they had all this stuff for plot convenience. Okay, which is again, this is typical of Disney Star Wars. They have all this stuff for plot convenience. Alone, the Last Jedi and the Rise of Skywalker have this worst thing. Again, it is kind of dumb when you see like, oh yeah, the main character gets his amp to this power, and of course beats the main villain. Some kind of stupid stuff like that. Again, we see it a lot in fiction all the time. It's not just in Star Wars, it's in fiction a lot. Main character gets this massive amp, or if the show has more than one main character, then the other main character gets, like, the main character has like a rival or something, and the other main character, of course, has to catch up to the rival has to catch up to the main character, but never have the rival pass the main character, because that's how it is. So and let's go back to LVV7. Like this thing, that's all it did was just insult. I'm not even gonna call it C because it's just a stupid, annoying piece of trash that all it did was just throw insults at everyone else. That's all it ever did. Like, you expect me to feel sad for this thing when it died? Okay, I'm not gonna feel sad for a freaking robot that's all it did was talk about droid rights, feminism, and complain about everyone else. It's like so stupid. And let's not forget they retconned, of course, you know, the character into the storyline. Of course. And of course, we have your typical, Disney, female strong thing. You had like the one of the main villains turns out to be a woman, of course. Of course. And of course, one of them, of course, the female, of course, he's one of the main characters in the story, so of course he's gonna do something. But I didn't really have a problem with her, with the girl, or the girl character. I forgot her name. It really doesn't matter because this movie's a pile of garbage, anyways. But you know, basically, betrayed the one guy. I didn't have a problem with that because he is one of the main characters. But the other character I did have a problem with, like, oh yeah, it's just an intimidating character. A big twist. The character's a woman. And, oh, now she's a good guy because the reasons, no development towards that whatsoever. Okay? Well, it's like, what's with Star Wars and these bad characters, okay? modern Star Wars, okay? Disney Star Wars, okay? You have Rose Tico. She is basically a poorly written character, okay? You know, you know, I think that L337 is even, when people talk about worst Star Wars characters, yeah, Jar Jar Binks is so bad. Oh, no, L337 is worse than Jar Jar Binks. L337, at least Jar Jar Binks didn't insult the main cast throughout the whole story. And, Rose Tico, who's basically Sakura of the Star Wars universe, basically. But no wonder why this flopped. This movie was just a pile of garbage, okay? I'm just shocked that this movie took $300 million to make when movies, there's a lot of better movies with just $100 million to $200 million budgets. This is one of the biggest budgeted movies of all time. Like, why? And I'm not going to get into how bad the actor for Han Solo was. I'm not even get into that because it's just, we're going on for too long about one crappy movie. So what is the final score? Well, there are some redeeming moments in this movie, unlike the last side. There are some entertaining moments in this movie. It does sound like I ripped on this movie, but it is still better than The Last Jedi. Because at least this movie is not boring, okay? So I'll give this a 4 out of 10. In between The Last Jedi and in between The Rise of Skywalker. Because at least The Rise of Skywalker has some extremely entertaining scenes in this. But Solo and entertaining scenes are not as entertaining as The Rise of Skywalker. And The Rise of Skywalker had a bunch of bullshit as well. So, that's basically it. Goodbye.